The Nicomachean Ethics of Aristotle.
Read and presented by George Pitropogiannakis.
Book 1, Chapter 6. We must now inquire concerning happiness, not only from our conclusion and the data on which our reasoning proceeds, but likewise from what is commonly said about it, because with what is true, all things which really are in harmony, but with that which is false, the truth very soon jars. Now, there is a common division of goods into three classes, one being called external, the other two those of the soul and body respectively, and those belonging to the soul we call most properly and specially good. Well, in our definition, we assume that the actions and workings of the soul constitute happiness, and these, of course, belong to the soul. And so our account is a good one, at least according to this opinion, which is of ancient date and accepted by those who profess philosophy. Rightly too are certain actions and workings said to be the end, for thus it is brought into the number of the goods of the soul instead of the external. Agreeing also with our definition is the common notion that the happy man lives well and does well, for it has been stated by us to be pretty much a kind of living well and doing well. And further, the points required in happiness are found in combination in our account of it. For some think it is virtue, others practical wisdom, others a kind of scientific philosophy, others that it is this or else some one of them in combination with pleasure, or at least not independently of it, while others again take in external prosperity. Of these opinions, some rest on the authority of numbers or antiquity, others on that of few, and those men of note. And it is not likely that either of these classes should be wrong in all points, but be right at least in some one, or even in most. Now, with those who assert it to be virtue, excellence, or some kind of virtue, our account agrees, for working in the way of excellence surely belongs to excellence. And there is perhaps no unimportant difference between conceiving of the chief good as in possession or as in use, in other words, as a mere state or as a working. For the state or habit may possibly exist in a subject without effecting any good, as, for instance, in him who is asleep, or in any other way inactive. But the working cannot so, for it will of necessity act, and act well. And as at the Olympic Games, it is not the finest and strongest men who are crowned, but they who enter the lists, for out of these the prize men are selected. So too, in life of the honorable and the good, it is they who act who rightly win the prizes. Their life, too, is in itself pleasant, for the feeling of pleasure is a mental sensation, and that is to each pleasant of which he is said to be fond. A horse, for instance, to him who is fond of horses, and a sight to him who is fond of sights. And so in like manner, just acts to him who is fond of justice, and more generally the things in accordance with virtue to him who is fond of virtue. Now, in the case of the multitude of men, the things which they individually esteem pleasant clash, because they are not such by nature, whereas to the lovers of nobleness those things are pleasant which are such by nature. But the actions in accordance with virtue are of this kind, so that they are pleasant both to the individuals and also in themselves. So, then, their life has no need of pleasure as a kind of additional appendage, but involves pleasure in itself. For, besides what I have just mentioned, a man is not a good man at all who feels no pleasure in noble actions, just as no one would call that man just who does not feel pleasure in acting justly. or liberal who does not in liberal actions, and similarly in the case of the other virtues which might be enumerated. And if this be so, then the actions in accordance with virtue must be in themselves pleasurable. Then again, they are certainly good and noble, and each of these in the highest degree, if we are to take as right the judgment of the good man, for he judges as we have said. Thus, then, happiness is most excellent, most noble, and most pleasant, and these attributes are not separated as in the well-known Delian inscription. Most noble is that which is most just, but best is health, and naturally most pleasant is the obtaining one's desires. For all these coexist in the best acts of working, and we say that happiness is these, or one that is the best of them. Still, it is quite plain that it does require the addition of external goods, as we have said, because without appliances it is impossible, or at all events not easy, to do noble actions. For friends, money, and political influence are in a manner instruments whereby many things are done. Some things there are, again, a deficiency in which mars blessedness. Good birth, for instance, or fine offspring, or even personal beauty, for he is not at all capable of happiness who is very ugly, or is ill-born, or solitary and childless, and still less, perhaps, supposing him to have very bad children or friends, or to have lost good ones by death. As we have said already, the addition of prosperity of this kind does seem necessary to complete the idea of happiness. Hence, some rank good fortune and others virtue with happiness.